So it's time to look at the other LA team, that is the LA Galaxy, and do a season preview for them. And by the way, this is the last team that I'm going to do in the season preview series out of the Western Conference that did not make it to the playoffs last season. And I believe we got only two more teams that haven't done a season preview that did not make it out of the playoffs, which means that we're also almost halfway done in terms of the season preview for all 28 MLS team. And I'm glad the fact that we are actually making some good progress, considering 3 days ago I was sick because of a fever, and then later found out I was tested positive for COVID. And I've said before that I have to get this season preview done as quick as possible, and have to get it done at least a week before the season begins, because that's the time when I of course have to do videos that is related for the beginning of the season. So videos like previews, predictions, hot seat index and emotion index, and so forth and so forth. But going back to this, today we're going to take a look at the LA Galaxy and do a season preview for them. And you know, last season the Galaxy, they finished with a 13-9-12 record and finished with 48 points. They scored 50 goals while conceding 45 goals, or not 45 goals, 54 goals. I got the number very mixed up there for a second. And they had a goal differential of -4, and they finished 8th in the Western Conference, which, you know, heading into last season, if you would tell Galaxy fans that they can finish 8th in the standings and just miss out on the playoffs, they wouldn't complain, because, you know, this was a team that heading into last season was kind of back in that rock bottom stage. And, you know, with Greg Vanney coming in and his long-term vision to guide this team back to being the top, you're going to, of course, have that growing pains in the first season of a rebuild that team was in. But the way that how last season, of course, played out, with them being in the playoff position pretty much every single week, and there was even points where it looked like that rebuild that they had, and that vision of them getting back to be a playoff contender was way ahead of schedule. But then, yeah, the second half collapse happened, and we all know what happened on decision day that ultimately eliminated them from playoff contention on the very final day. Now, in the last 5 seasons, besides finish 8th in 2021, in 2020 they finished 10th place. Well, in 2019 they finished 5th in the standings, but ultimately lost to their intercity rival LAFC in the second round. In 2018 they suffered more decision day heartbreak and finished in 7th place after losing to the Houston Dynamo on that. And then in 2017, yeah, I don't really need to remind Galaxy fans what happened in 2017, where it was probably the worst season in this franchise history. I mean, it's not probably, it's definitely the worst season in franchise history, as that's really, I think, the only time that this team has ever finished dead last in their own conference. And then, of course, they've also won the Wooden Spoon that year. Now, in terms of transfer that they made this off-season, they brought in Marky Delgado from Toronto FC and Calvin Lairdown from Inter Miami. They got Raheem Edwards from LAFC, who, as I mentioned in my LAFC season preview, I think he's the first player ever to, of course, play for two LA teams, because I don't recall there's any other player in the league that gets to play the two LA team, or even this is a very rare case that you see a player play for two different sides that are hated rival on the playing field. But they also got Richard Sanchez from North Texas SC, and then in the Super Draft they got Ferre Matutun, Chandler Vang, and Callum Johnson in the Super Draft. Now, in terms of players that is no longer with this team, well, there's definitely some notable names that is no longer with their team, and probably one of the most notable names is Sebastian Lletget, who, after being with this Galaxy team for about, I think, 7th season, he's now moving on to another team, and he's going to be going to the New England Revolution. And then you got Jonathan Dos Santos, who they finally got out of his contract, as he is going to be joining his brother Giovanni Dos Santos in Club America in Liga MX. They also lost Onel Fisher to Minnesota United, Giancarlo Gonzalez going back to his native country, Costa Rica, and playing for LD Alajuelense. They also lost Justin Von Stark going to Portland Timbers, Daniela Acosta going to Orange County, Daniel Steres going to Houston, Ethan Zubac going to Nashville SC, Kai Augustine Williams, and Eric Lopez. All of these guys are free agent, and they also lost Nico Hyman, though he was actually only here on a loan deal, and they decided not to renew his loan, and he is going to be going back to his parent club, that is QPR. Now, optimism for this LA Galaxy team. Those LA Galaxy fans are going to be very optimistic about this season. Well, it's Greg Vanney's second season, which means that usually that leads to some success. And the reason why I say that is that, you look at his time with Toronto FC, and I remember how I talked about in his first season, it was still kind of dark time for him to try to guide a team that's been a bottom feeder for a long time to get themselves back to start to be a competitive team. Well, that's kind of the case with this Galaxy team. They still suffer some heartbreak during the first year, but Galaxy fans are hoping that, if the trend stays true, Greg Vanney will of course lead this team to some success and make it to the playoffs. I mean, that year he did lead that TFC team to their first playoff appearance, and he can maybe do the same thing in this season too. And then, of course, some dead weight contract that is finally offloaded. I mentioned about the contract that Jonathan Dos Santos had. I mean, unlike his brother Giovanni Dos Santos, I didn't think that contract was as bad as GDS. I mean, the contract that GDS has will always known as one of the worst contract in MLS history. But with Jonathan Dos Santos, I think it is pretty clear that they had to move on from him with the injury problem that he has, and also not really performing at a DP level as he is last season. So yeah, at least they finally got that contract offloaded. And then of course Sebastian Lletget, who also, I think he also had a big contract with the Galaxy, that seems like it's now offloaded with him going to New England, and that the Galaxy also still get some general allocation money out of that deal. Now, the concern for this Galaxy team, and there actually is a lot of concern for this team, for a team that you would think that maybe they can get themselves back to being a playoff contender. Well, one of the biggest concern with this team is the attack itself. I mean, last season the attack was pretty much like Chicharito or bust, and that if Chicharito is not scoring, nobody on that attack can of course score. And it feels like this is kind of the same case again for this upcoming season, because besides the fact that it seems like they're about to add Douglas Costa into this team, there really isn't a lot of attacking signings that they of course made for a team that really had nobody that is able to score goals except for Chicharito. So yeah, if this is going to be another season where it's Chicharito or bust, I do not expect the Galaxy is going to do as well, because Chicharito, he is now a year older, and there are questions the fact that yes, last year he had an amazing year, but can he of course keep that up now that he is a year older, and that teams now maybe they can start to figure out how all they need to do is just shut down Chicharito, and this Galaxy team will not look lethal going forward on the attack. Speaking of Douglas Costa, I know some Galaxy fans are happy to, of course, see Douglas Costa, because, it's another big name coming to this Galaxy team. In the Galaxy have always been known as a team that love to sign some big star player, even though some of them are kind of way past their prime. I mean, just don't tell that to some of the Galaxy fans, because they want to see them play, and it gets them to watch it in the stadium. But, the issue that I think many people have with Douglas Costa is the fact that he is kind of a guy that could potentially look like going to be another Giovanni Dos Santos. Now, the contract that I've heard that the Galaxy is going to sign for Douglas Costa is going to be a DP contract, and depending on how that DP contract is going to do, where if it's a DP contract where he can maybe be able to buy down in the future, then yeah, I guess it's an okay contract. But if it is a monster DP contract that is like something similar to the one that Giovanni Dos Santos got a couple of years, oh boy, this is not going to end up very well. And the other reason why I said that he could be another GDS is because Douglas Costa, as I mentioned, I think in one of my News of the Week episode, he's not the same Douglas Costa as you might have known during his time with Bayern Munich and Juventus. I mean, his career has really gone downhill because of the problem on and off the field issue. Well, mostly off the field issue. He tends to be a very kind of a party animal, which is why I don't think LA is the right destination for him to go, because LA is a place that is known to, of course, be a party atmosphere, and the fact that if he is going to focus more on that rather than playing for this team, there could be some serious repercussion, and not to mention the fact that he's also very injury prone. So yeah, I mean, I would say he's not only just another GDS, but he could also be another JDS in this case. It would be a combination of GDS being lazy and unmotivated, and then JDS seems to always ends up on the IR table instead, or the IR list instead of being on the pitch. So yeah, this move could turns out to be a huge bust, and it's another example of the Galaxy not learning the same mistake that they made in the past, of how you can't just keep signing these age-old kind of superstar player that used to be good and can definitely get some fan interest, but it's not going to help your squad improve one bit. And then, of course, lastly, the last concern for this Galaxy team, I mean, it's pretty obvious. You know what I'm going to say. And I know this is something maybe Galaxy fans are still concerned about too, but they also maybe get a little annoyed that I'm about to say it again. It's the defense. I mean, it's been something that I said almost every single year, and I think this is something that I mentioned so many times that I don't really need to go too much into it, other than the fact that I think when you look at some of the players that they move on from, some of them are defenders, and the fact that they did not actually replace them, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, that you're basically putting a defense that is almost the same, and now you have crippled them with them moving on to other clubs. Yeah, I won't be surprised this defense could come back to giving up like 60 plus goals again, unless if Jonathan Bond can play out of his mind. Now, in terms of MVP for this team, I mean, it's pretty obvious who's the MVP for this team. It's got to be Chicharito, and again, not much need to say about why Chicharito is the MVP, because he's really the only guy on that attack that can, of course, score goals, and that I've already mentioned the fact that it seems like this attack could once again be Chicharito or bust situation. Now, comeback player. This might be a controversial one, but I'm actually going to go with Kevin Cabral. And the only way I can see that this attack is not going to be Chicharito or bust is if Kevin Cabral can actually live up to his potential and develop into a player that they hope that he could be when they bought him last summer. I mean, I know a lot of Galaxy fans have criticized Kevin Cabral, especially in the second half of last season, of the fact that he's probably one of the worst signings that they have ever made. But I saw some potential that he can, of course, be a decent player. I mean, he definitely has the pace to beat any defender, and he definitely has the creativity to of course get around defender and get himself into good position to score goals, and also has that movement too. But the thing that is lacking in his game is the finishing, and that's really kind of something that if he can, of course, develop that, and it doesn't have to be perfect, because we know all number 9s, they eventually do have some bad miss throughout their career, but if he can develop to be that potent goal scorer, that potent striker, they don't have to worry about in a situation whether it's Chicharito or bust that they have on the attack, and that they could have another good weapon. But this of course would depend on whether or not if Cabral can develop that way. I mean, he kind of did in some way in that preseason game against New England, where I think he scored like 2 goals, and that maybe this is a sign that he is finally developed that point where he can be a lethal, potent striker going forward. But I'm not going to just use that game as an example to prove that, yeah, he of course have turned his corner and finally developed that skill, because after all, it is still just preseason, and that unless if you can't do that continuously in the regular season, I won't be surprised Galaxy fans are once again demanding him to leave this team. But I have faith that maybe he could, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I put him as a comeback player for this season after a rough season that he had last year. Now, expectation for this LA Galaxy team. I mean, obviously, the second year, in order to make progress in this long, well, it's not really a long rebuild, but more like their vision to get themselves back to the top is to make it to the playoffs. And I think they could definitely do so if their defense can actually do well, and that if they can maybe find another good attacking pieces besides Chicharito. And that also gives us to the second point of the expectation is add more pieces, especially on the defensive front, to of course solidify that back line. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this video, and if you're an LA Galaxy fan, what's your optimism, your concern, and most importantly, your expectation is for this upcoming season. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.